Before anything else, if you follow Manchester City, leave a like now and check that you're subscribed to the channel, because it really helps this content reach more supporters and makes sure you don't miss any important updates about the citizens. It's quick, it's free, and it makes all the difference. Now then, let's get straight to what matters, because there's a lot of hot stuff happening behind the scenes at City. Manchester City are going through a period of delicate decisions, the kind where every move can impact not only the rest of the season, but also the future shape of the squad. One of these situations directly involves the club's young talents, squad management in the middle of key injuries, and market opportunities that pop up almost unexpectedly. And right at the center of it all is the name Oscar Bobb. The noise around Oscar Bobb has grown significantly in recent days. The possibility of him leaving before the January window closes has stopped being distant speculation and has started to be treated as something concrete behind the scenes. Crystal Palace have emerged as a genuine destination, watching the situation closely and willing to talk. This isn't some loose rumor, but a scenario being assessed seriously. The big issue is the uncertainty over Bobb's long-term role at the Etihad. Since stepping up to the first team, he's shown qualities that win over any supporter: refined technique, bravery to take on defenders, creativity in tight spaces, and that rare ability to break lines naturally. He's the type of player who can change the rhythm of a match in just a few touches. Pep Guardiola has always made it clear he values that profile. But the problem has never been talent. The obstacle has been continuity. Over the last 18 months, injuries have badly disrupted Bobb's development. Every time it looked like he was finding his rhythm, something interrupted the process. That inevitably creates doubt inside a club that needs players available week after week, especially with a schedule as demanding as City's. The numbers help with context, but they don't tell the whole story. Bobb has 47 appearances for the first team, with 3 goals and 4 assists. Anyone who follows closely knows his impact goes beyond that. Even so, at the highest level, statistics and consistency matter, especially when new pieces arrive with a high status. And that's exactly what happened with the signing of Antoine Semenyo. City invested heavily, $64 million, bringing in a player who arrives ready, confident, and with immediate impact. Semenyo's debut was the kind of statement that's hard to ignore: a goal, an assist, and a direct contribution to that outrageous 10-1 win over Exeter City in the FA Cup. When a signing arrives like that, the squad dynamic changes instantly. The attacking hierarchy starts to reorganize, and certain players end up in more delicate positions. Semenyo has also been part of the conversation, but everything suggests the club plan to keep him, especially after the contract renewal signed in October. In Bobb's case, the picture looks different. He appears as the most likely name to leave if City decide to trim the squad. There have been approaches from outside England, with Borussia Dortmund standing out. However, those talks didn't progress as expected. City played hardball, asking for a fee considered high, which cooled the interest. With that, the focus returned to the Premier League, where Crystal Palace are monitoring everything closely. Palace, for their part, are going through a difficult moment. Their FA Cup exit to Macclesfield was a huge shock, one of those defeats that exposes issues in the squad and planning. The club know they need to react, refresh their options, and bring in players who can raise the team's level. Bobb fits that profile perfectly. The detail that makes everything even more interesting is the context involving Marc Guéhi. City are seriously assessing the center-back's willingness to move, and any negotiation on that front could open the door to broader talks between the clubs. When interests overlap, the possibilities grow. City's defensive situation helps explain this movement. The injuries to Ruben Dias and Joško Gvardiol have completely changed the planning. Pep Guardiola has been forced to improvise, use players out of position, and adapt the system in important matches. That's far from the ideal scenario for a side competing for everything. With that in mind, the board know they need to act. January, which is normally approached with caution, has become a period of pressure. The club can't afford to ignore obvious gaps in the squad. That's why names are starting to appear on different fronts. Internally, there's also talk about Nathan Ake. The defender hasn't had the run of games he would want. and could benefit from a change, especially when thinking about personal objectives and space in international competitions. That makes a deal involving more than one player between City and Palace even more plausible. Other names keep circulating behind the scenes too, like Omar Marmoush, reinforcing the sense that a lot is being discussed at the same time. In the middle of all this, the overall perception is clear. Oscar Bobb is the one closest to a departure, whether now, in the next few weeks, or later in the European summer. For a player of his talent, the decisive factor may be finding an environment where he can play regularly, build confidence, and, above all, stay healthy. Sometimes the move isn't about a lack of quality, but about context. And that leads to the inevitable reflection for anyone who follows City closely. Is it worth being patient and persisting with Oscar Bobb, believing he can still establish himself at the Etihad? Or has the time come to let him take another path to grow as a player? This decision about Oscar Bobb can't be analyzed in isolation. It connects directly with another central topic being discussed inside Manchester City right now: the future of the midfield and the possible departure of one of the most important players of the Pep Guardiola era, Bernardo Silva. When you put these two situations together, it becomes clear the club are living through a quiet transition, even if it's extremely strategic. Bernardo Silva needs no introduction for City supporters. Since arriving in 2017 from Monaco, he has become a key piece in Pep's system. Whether playing wide, inside, higher up, or helping build from the back, Bernardo has always delivered intelligence, intensity, and above-average game understanding. Few players in the squad understand what Pep wants on the pitch as well as he does. His contract is approaching its end, and although nothing has been confirmed officially, Bernardo himself has made it clear in recent interviews that he knows exactly what the next step in his career will be. That alone sets off alarm bells. It doesn't automatically mean he's leaving, but it forces the club to prepare for that scenario. At City, planning never happens at the last minute. Bernardo's weight within the squad became even more evident last summer when Pep decided to give him the captain's armband after Kyle Walker's departure. That choice wasn't just symbolic for the dressing room, but also for the club's future, now under the new structure with Hugo Viana as sporting director. It was a clear message about leadership, trust, and legacy. Now, moving into the current moment, City are hitting the decisive part of the season strongly. The 10-1 thrashing of Exeter City in the FA Cup wasn't just a headline result, but a match that brought important answers for Pep Guardiola. And one of those answers is called Rico Lewis. Rico Lewis was given a rare start in that match and took it perfectly. Playing in midfield, he controlled the tempo, found space well between the lines, showed maturity in decision-making, and even got on the score sheet with a goal. It was a performance that made plenty of people inside and outside the club rethink his role in the squad. For much of the season, Rico has had to practice patience. The adaptation of Matheus Nunes and his growth within the system ended up reducing the young academy players' minutes. Even so, internally, there has never been any doubt about Rico's potential. What was missing was a clear opportunity to show it on the pitch. After the match, Pep Guardiola went straight to the point. He didn't speak about Rico as an improvised fullback or an emergency option. He spoke of him as a natural midfielder, someone who understands space, moves with ease, and always seems one step ahead of the play. Pep highlighted exactly what he values most: footballing intelligence. According to the manager, Rico has that rare ability to drift between units, occupy the right spaces at the right moment, and arrive in the box with perfect timing. That kind of reading isn't easily taught. It's something the player carries, and Pep has always made it clear he prefers athletes who think the game before they execute it. Pep went further and admitted he feels Rico should play more. Coming from a coach known for being extremely demanding, that carries a lot of weight. It isn't just any compliment. It's almost a public statement of trust, something that at City often comes before important changes in the squad. Last summer, Nottingham Forest tried to take Rico Lewis away from the Etihad. The response was immediate. The player himself made it clear he never considered leaving. He sees himself as part of City's future and wants to build his career there. That kind of stance also matters a lot at a club that values identity and internal development. When Pep was asked directly about the possibility of Rico taking on a role similar to Bernardo Silva's in the future, the answer came indirectly, but very clearly. He spoke about intelligence, about players who can read the game, adapt quickly, and make the right decisions under pressure. For anyone who follows City, the message was obvious. Rico Lewis fits that profile perfectly. The big question now is the short term. Was that performance against Exeter enough to secure more minutes? Especially with the Manchester derby approaching, Pep is already thinking about Old Trafford, and every choice will be calculated down to the smallest detail. Still, one thing is certain. Rico has put himself right back into the fight for space. And when you connect that to Oscar Bobb's situation, the bigger picture starts to make even more sense. City may lose an attacking talent, but at the same time they see, in-house, a solution for an extremely sensitive position in the squad. That's planning. That's thinking beyond one transfer window. But the market doesn't stop. And while these internal decisions are being weighed up, City remain alert to what's happening outside England. And that's where the third big theme of this moment comes in. The hunt for young talent in European football, with a particular focus on a name that's been attracting a lot of attention in Germany. Manchester City have been closely monitoring Said El-Mala, a young forward at FC Köln. At 19, he has become one of the standout revelations of the Bundesliga this season. Quick, aggressive one-on-one, confident in the final third, and with numbers that impress for someone so young. In just 15 league matches, El-Mala already has 6 goals and 3 assists. More than that, he shows personality on the pitch, doesn't hide in big matches, and looks comfortable even under pressure. That profile immediately catches the eye of clubs thinking in the medium and long term. It's no accident that representatives from Manchester City, Manchester United, and Tottenham have already made contact with the player's camp. Before that, Brighton tried to sign him last summer. When that level of interest starts to stack up, it's clear the player is on the right radar. However, Köln moved quickly to cool any excitement. The club made it clear they have no intention of negotiating El-Mala at this moment. The asking price is above $50 million, and the board believes selling now makes no sense, especially when you consider taxes, wages, and future resale potential. Köln's vice president, Ulf Suk, was very transparent. According to him, a winter sale would be financially disadvantageous and damaging from a sporting perspective. The idea is to keep El-Mala, allow him to keep developing, and, if necessary, discuss any exit only later on. From City's side, that effectively ends any January conversation. The interest is real, but not at any cost. The club would rather watch, maintain the relationship, and be prepared if the situation changes in the summer. That approach has proven effective in other deals in the past, and that's how everything fits together. While City assess possible departures like Oscar Bobb's, prepare internal successions like Rico Lewis's, and monitor promising talents like Said El-Mala, it's clear the club remain faithful to their philosophy. Nothing is done on impulse. Everything is calculated. Now, the final question is for you, Manchester City supporter. Would you keep Oscar Bobb in the squad and back his potential? Would you bet on Rico Lewis as Bernardo Silva's natural successor? And would you pay more than $50 million for a young player like Said El-Mala? I really want to know your opinion. If you enjoyed this content, leave a like now and check that you're subscribed to the channel. It helps massively to strengthen the work and make sure you receive all the next Manchester City updates firsthand. Turn on notifications, support the content, and stick with us.